Welcome everybody to another AEW Collision full review here on the WWE podcast. Brought to you by the WrestleMagic team today. Myself, Rocky T, checking in once again, and I brought with me the heavy hitter, the Louisville Slugger, Michael Gross. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm just living life and loving it right now, and I'm just having a great time. And I'm ready to really dig into this collision because this was a decent show. It wasn't over the top, but they had some really great highlights, and there was a couple things that were kind of some stuff that I think we need to dig in. They left a little bit on the table, so to speak, when it comes to dinner. So let's really dig right into something that I want to talk about. Do you feel that with not only the win and that amazing intro that they gave Ricky Starks, that he's finally been elevated the way he was supposed to be when he worked with Jericho?
Absolutely, yes. And we talked about this on the first Collision episode about how this was going to be a nice platform for those guys not getting the time to really showcase. And Ricky Starks was the guy at the top of that list that needed more TV time. We knew he had the in-ring skills. We knew he had the mic skills, but he needed the TV time, and that's what he's getting. The Owen Hart tournament win proves that. It doesn't matter how he won it. We're gonna get to his words on that and how he felt about that, which I really liked what he said this evening. Another part of what I liked is just the way they opened the show. The Acclaim, Ricky Starks, Bullet Club, short and sweet, all promos, one line word sentences. Everybody had one line, and you knew those were the guys that was going to be featured on the show. So I really like the way they're opening the show.
That was a great cold open. I have to agree with you. And I think that one thing Collision's going to stress is tag team action. Now, of course, you've got the trios everywhere because that's the thing that the EVPs love. Trios, trios, trios. I get it. They got it from Mexico. And, six-man tag action's also big in New Japan. But the fact that we actually have a U.S. promotion that celebrates tag team wrestling, real tag team wrestling, not just putting together two single stars and waiting to split them up to see which one's going to sink and which one's going to swim. So I like the fact that we're really paying attention and giving the tag teams their due in this industry right now.
Yeah, so Ricky Starks coming out too with the extra pyro this week. I know it's because of the win, the tournament win. I, I really enjoyed the pyro. The entrance has always been a big deal for me, especially when I I know when you're rating the match, based on the stars of the match, it's based on the storyline and the in ring. Honestly, for me, I've said this before on I think on the mailbag. I give the entrance at least like half a star. If it's a championship match, your champion comes out second, challenger comes out first. Everybody, I want to hit the cues. I want the camera angles right. I want the pyro on time. Like I'm very nitpicky when it comes to the entrance. So this entrance was flawless to me. But getting right into it, gets in the ring. Tony Schiavone, like the first question out the gate, he puts him on the spot and asks him about the hand on the rope for the win in the tournament. What'd you think about that?
Oh, I liked it. It's a great way to start off the show. It's a great way to just go right into, okay, you won it, but it was kind of crooked. It's setting up some kind of tension that we need right now. Let's start off with a story instead of, well, congratulations, you won. What exactly are you going to do? What are your plans for the future? All that blah, 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 blah stuff that we're kind of past at this point in pro wrestling. So let's address the elephant in the room. I like that. That's where Shivani needs to be with these interviews. And I mean, obviously, it was probably co-written by him and for him, but it's a great way to start it off. Like, let's just get into it. You want it in controversial fashion. What do you have to say about yourself?
Well, let's talk about what he did have to say, and I really, really like what he had to say. First thing he says that he got the job done the only way he knows how to, and that's by any means necessary. He has a lot of great energy, and he comes out to say next, he goes, Don't talk to me about what's right and wrong. Talk to me about how sexy I am." So good energy, tough, and then he comes with that liner at the end. And then oddly enough, CM Punk comes out with no music.
I like that. I really like
Yeah,
that.
right.
It added more surprise factor, even though it wasn't a surprise because you start to hear the crowd go crazy and you look at him, but it shows more of a determined. even though he took his time getting to the ring. It shows a more determined, like, don't even bother with the music kind of attitude of his. So I really like that. And I thought it was different. Let's not pop the crowd with the music right away because we're going to play the music later on in the night. Maybe they're onto a formula here that could work and be a little bit more symbiotic with wrestlers' appearances. I mean, it's kind of strange that every time a wrestler surprises you by coming back, their music plays. Now we don't have to have that casualty of war saying, oh, well, we knew he was going to be back the whole time. That's why his tape was in the recorder ready to go.
You know what? I can see that. I think maybe for me, if he was going to come out with no music, maybe he should have came out talking on the mic right away. But the walk to the ring, sets some anticipation. So I can definitely see your side. But the guys go back and forth in the ring for a bit, and then little jabs on the mic, and then Stark mentions the little red bag that Punk brought out a couple of weeks ago. And what I really like is Punk asks him if he wants a shot at what's in the bag. And then cut back to the entrance, and we got Christian and Luchasaurus. So what do you think about their exchange in the ring, and then Christian and Lucha coming out?
Well, first of all, it's never really been addressed what's in the bag, but you're supposed to be led to believe that it's the original AEW World Championship, and they just created a new belt for the next successor when he got suspended. So that I think that's what it is. It's kind of like the whole Punk versus Cena, who really had the championship, raising the belts face to face. So it's a nod, an homage to that. What I also liked is that Ricky Starks brings out his Louis Vuitton bag. And that was perfect, okay? But here's my thing, and I love the fact he's like, you want to know what's in my bag? And the first thing that went through my mind is, do you remember when Shane McMahon came out about 6 years ago and he had the box that could ruin Vince McMahon? I would have loved it if Ricky Stark said it's the answer to what Shane had. That's the first thing that popped into my head. I know it's corny, folks, but honestly, I really love the exchange, and I really do like what they're doing with the two, and the fact that Punk's polarity goes from babyface to heel. He inserts New Jersey Devils. I think that's funny because obviously he's a Blackhawks fan. I'm a diehard Rangers fan, but it's like he's still the face, but he's like, yeah, screw your team because they're getting on his back. It's a way to reestablish himself with heel tactics as still a babyface. But I've got a question for you before we get to going to the ramp. What exactly does this Owen Hart belt mean to you?
So we talked a little bit about this last week with Matt and Mark, and basically we kind of agreed that it's pretty much along the lines of King of the Ring accomplishment. Not participation trophy, but this is supposed to be your next guy who's going to be in the title picture, the world title picture, but he's not quite there yet. But he's past the mid card, but he's not a championship tier yet. So he's like right there. So if they treat this the way that the King of the Ring should be treated, the way this Owen Hart tournament should be treated, the way I want it to be treated is that Ricky, he was showcased. He wins the tournament. He has the belt as a trophy for now. I would like him to continue on a winning streak by hook or crook and challenge for the title. That's what it's supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean that, King of the Ring or best in the ring. At the moment, upcoming star, the rise. That's pretty much how I feel about it.
I would like it is if it's like a trophy, like you say. Like I like the cup, but you can't lug a cup around. So it's a belt he never has to defend. It's just he's the inaugural, so he holds it, and then whoever wins next year gets a new belt. So it's always evolving design in the name of Owen Hart. And basically it's just yours to say that you won it that year. So it's kind of like the King of the Ring, like you're saying, but you don't have to defend it. So now somebody else is the Owen Hart champion because that's too many belts now. That's way too many belts.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be a title that's acknowledged or recognized by any means like that. So, yeah, we agree there.
Awesome. So let's get to the top of the ramp. Take it away, boss.
I just love Christian. I love heel Christian. He comes out, he puts down the city, and a tear to my eye laughing when he said to Punk, what kind of man walks around with the title he didn't win?
Yes.
I just laughing so hard. Punk was laughing so hard in the ring. Uh, I played that back a few times. That's just hilarious. Um, how'd you
I
feel
noted
about
that
it?
myself. I noted
Yeah,
it
you did.
myself. Yeah, because obviously they're alluding to the fact that in the red bag is going to be his original, championship. So that's just Christian's basically calling it out and solving the pieces or putting the pieces of the puzzle together for everybody in the audience. But it just the tongue in cheek because he said it so serious.
Yeah,
That's why they had to pan away from Punk in the ring because he was dying laughing, as we were dying laughing at home. So it was well worth the comment.
it's Christian's, like I say, he's just doing some career work now and the role that he's in, and it just I can't praise the guy more than anything. I love heel Christian, always have. But shortly after, Darby Allin comes out, snatches the mic from Christian. They goes in the ring, talks a bit, puts down Luchasaurus, and then what do you think was gonna happen? Tag matches set up for the main event. So all this took about 15 minutes, I think, from open until the end of Darby talking, and so the opening of the show was a 15-minute promo basically. So overall, how'd you feel about everything with all the moving parts?
All the moving parts are good except there's a couple snafus. First of all, the TNT belt, from what I can understand, is supposed to be like a TV title, which means if the wrestler's on TV and not in a tag team match, they should defend it. However, the real champion's Luchasaurus. I really thought that Luchasaurus was going to be in this match. Maybe he's nursing an injury, or maybe they're really trying to build the Christian Cage tension with him. So either way, it works for me. It's just I want them to define the stipulations of that belt because I do believe that it's supposed to be not a U.S. title or an intercontinental, which is a once a month defense, like every time you're on television, or wouldn't be named after a television network. Come on. So that's the only snafu I had with it, but it was a great setup. We kind of knew it was going to happen. I was just really surprised that it was Christian Cage and not Luchasaurus.
Agree. And I have a few more points about this duo or these tag teams, but we'll get to those questions and thoughts when we talk about the main event. So let's move on. Next we get a pre-tape of Andrade getting escorted out of the arena earlier in the day. Obviously, this is tying into the storyline with House of Black. Any thoughts on that?
It's just to build tension for next week. Give the guy a week off. Go spend some time with Charlotte. Which is okay. We can deal with that. We can deal with him not being on there for a week because they probably taped it last week, and I'm fine with it. Really, I am. To further a storyline, that's great. Because honestly, during House of Black tonight, I really didn't want to run in. I didn't want any kind of interference. I just wanted to enjoy a really great match. And when we get there, we'll say that I think that we enjoyed a really great match tonight. And so to take him out of the equation for an evening, to have an excuse to take him out of the equation for the evening, to build tension and give the guy a little bit of time off to go see his wife, I'm fine with it. And it's supposed to build him as a one-man wrecking crew also. So, if you're going to believe that this guy can take out Brody King, who's 100 pounds heavier than him and probably a lot stronger, Aleister Black, who's the or Malachi Black, who's the Dutch Destroyer, and Buddy Matthews, who's just phenomenal. If you're going to be one man taking on those three, we have to have reasons that yes, you have to be escorted off. You're too dangerous. Give us those little bits of anticipation, so that when we get the payoff, it's more believable.
Andrade, yes, I agree, and make it believable. Good setup, and if Andrade's in the Owen Hart tournament next year, then he'd be my pick. I think he's been in TNA long enough, paid his due, so to speak, and I think he should at least, get that quote unquote consolation prize. But
Yes.
moving forward, tag team action. Action Andrade and Darius Martin versus JY and Juice Robinson. Let you take this one first.
Juice Robinson is amazing. How did WWE developmental miss the boat on this guy? Did you ever see his character in NXT?
I feel like maybe once, because when I saw him pop up on AEW, I was like, this guy looks familiar. Where have I seen him? But I didn't do any research on him.
So, the guy lives an alternate lifestyle, okay? He's kind of like hippie-ish. That's why he's Juice Robinson, okay? And it's like, CJ Parker, something like that was his name. It's been so long. And he came out like as a hippie, like seriously as a hippie with like a sign that's like says hug trees or something. It was god awful. And he had the dreads in his hair, and this guy is wrestling at the top of his game. I mean, he had to go to New Japan to reinvent his character, but he kept it with the roots of who he really is, which is like a new age badass hippie. He's a hippie you don't want to fight in the streets. That's why his tights look the way they do. That's why his hair's all dreaded. But his hair, as it grows out, he's starting to look like a miniature Bruiser Brody. Have you noticed that?
I noticed that with some of the moves he did with the senton, the standing senton, and then the standing crossbody splash. It looked like Brody. Yeah, it's the way he lands with his elbows and knees just flat on the opponent's laying on the ground on the back, and then he just drops with the belly flop essentially. But yeah, the hair, it looked like Brody's son. Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody. Yeah, let's not think Brody King, okay? So Jay White, I've always known is amazing. I followed him since he was a fledgling Ring of Honor, New Japan, took over as leader of Bullet Club. One of the greatest things was that drop kick into the German suplex. That was just brilliant. I love that spot in the match. That was awesome. Yes. These four really lit it up. Now, I still see Top Flight as kind of green. Not green, but still kind of indie, too flippy, too they definitely need to be carried by a good dance partner. And there was no better dance partner than Juice and Jay White. I mean, the finish to the match, multiple finishes, just an exclamation point on it, I could deal with that. Even though they didn't have to, it's just to put it over that we don't care, and not only are we going to beat you, we're going to destroy you. Of course, the other intangibles to this match is I think Top Flight is going to be – they're about 2 years away from really being a seasoned team. They got to get away from the indie, the flippy. I mean, look at Andretti. Like, wasn't he supposed to be something big after he beat Jericho, and now he's relegated to this tag team, which is really where he should have started to begin with. The other thing is, with the Gunn boys there, of course, their last name's Gunn, Bullet Club. Hello, who didn't see that one coming? I just think that right now the whole idea of the Bullet Club should be left in Japan, and Juice Robinson and Jay White should become their own entity here, because that whole thing is not working in America anymore. It was novel when it happened, but it's now jumped the shark and it's past its prime. But aside from that, solid match, a couple of small botches, mostly on the sides of, well, really only on the sides of Top Flight. But aside from that, it was just, we were pampered too much with last week's match with Finn and Juice, or excuse me, with Jay and yeah. So it was. To be pampered like that and expect that same amount of action this week, it's not fair to put it on Top Flight like that. So that's what really caused the disappointment, but still a solid match.
So I actually didn't see it as a disappointment. I know we were spoiled a bit with the match from last week. Bullet Club takes a loss, but they look phenomenal in the loss. They come back with the bounce back win this week. With Top Flight, yeah, they are still a green team. So this is the perfect team for Bullet Club to get that rebound win on. Something that I hadn't seen before. I think Action Andrade did it. It was a springboard tornado crossbody off the top rope onto, I believe Jay White. I hadn't seen this before, so that was very cool to see. A lot of good fast-paced action to start the match. Bullet Club takes over. They divide and conquer, and then during the break, commercial break, Bullet Club maintains their advantage. Jay White, I mean, just Juice, they're great heels. They pose, they talk trash, they get the crowd up, wild up. They're just, these guys, before I go on, do you think there's going to be an FTR versus Bullet Club third match? Is there a rubber match, or does FTR have 2 wins over them?
I honestly think that there's got to be at least one more. Their paths are not done crossing. Yeah. It's in the infancy of Collision. It's in the infancy of Jay White and Juice being in AEW to begin with, and the fact that they've got one of the best tag team. I mean, it's a better tag team division than WWE has by far. So to see these guys rotate back in eventually, I'm fine with it. To see Juice and Jay split up and go their own separate ways, I'm fine with too, because they are actually singles wrestlers, but they just have such incredible chemistry and such split styles. We've got a young Bruiser Brody type who can do some athleticism versus Jay White, who could do a lot of scientific and he's very much scientific with small elements of brawling. I love it. I love the way they mesh. It's great. But if they split them up, I'm fine. However, they are going to wrestle at FTR at least 2 or 3 more times in the next couple of years, and I'm all for it.
Well, I think the point of the 2 out of 3 falls match was to establish these guys as a tag team. So now we know they can hang with the best. They can literally hang in the ring with the best, and they can go the distance. Like I said, this was their rebound match just to get back on the winning ways. Showcase them again on Saturday night. But halfway through the match, Martin gets the hot tag, unleashes some offense. Fast-paced action picks up again, but the tables are turned, and Andrade Martin, that shotgun drop kick that you were talking about, that was
my gosh,
cool. That was very cool.
That was
I
awesome.
haven't seen that. Yeah, very cool.
So I'll tell you who it reminds me of, if I could sidebar real quick. There was a tag team in the AWA a long time ago. I believe it was called Bad Company. It was Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. They ended up coming to separately at 2 different times to WWE, and they put Paul Diamond under a mask because he was perennially an under guy, and they renamed them the Orient Express, and they used to use a butterfly suplex, which is a variation of the German, and or some people call it the dragon suplex. It depends. Actually, I think whatever. The point is, I think it was a butterfly. Pat Tanaka would lock him in a butterfly suplex, and Kato, which was Paul Diamond, would give him a super kick to the chin, and then they bridge over into the pin. So that's what that reminded me of. But the intensity of that shotgun drop kick into that was great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved it.
Great. Just jaw dropping stuff. Like you had mentioned earlier, at the end, they put that exclamation point on. Juice Robinson hits that DDT, that modified DDT. I forget what he named it. And then just with another cherry on top, Jay White hits the Blade Runner. 1, 2, 3. The only critique I have by this match is that when Jay White hit that Blade Runner, the camera panned away from the impact.
I know.
They did show it on the replay, but somebody flubbed up in the back.
That's that patented AEW. We must have borrowed it from TNA production there.
I guess so, but all right, let's keep it moving. Next we have an FTR montage of title victories and high points in their career. Not letting us forget who they are, but how could we after last week's match? But they weren't on the show tonight. But just here's a little package, just to get some backstage things set up with guys in Gorilla and whatnot. And then we have
Miro, I believe.
The Miro squash match.
It wasn't really a squash. Here's my thing with it. First of all, for Miro to be such a decimator, the Redeemer, people are behind him. Now, here's my thing about Miro. When he was Rusev, he was god-awful. He was a kick punch, put him in the camel clutch, a body slam, and we're supposed to be amazed? No, really. That's just trash wrestling. That's Vince McMahon's, slow, I'm a huge brick kind of thing. It's garbage. And as Miro, he's loosened up. He's learned how to chain wrestle a little bit. I enjoyed more of his matches. Whoever this Nick Colorado, was that his name?
Something like that. He's from the QT Marshall's faction. I can never remember his name, but
yeah, it was like the part of the Monster Factory or whatever. But
yeah, he's basically been a jobber, for a few years now.
He's a big boy. I like the fact. First of all, let me get to Miro's entry. For this guy to be such a badass, why does he have the lamest little pyro and just look goofy up there screaming? You talk about intros, that's a negative star to me. But then going forward, so this Nick guy attacks him from the back. Okay, show some gumption. Obviously, he went to, the University of Colorado because he had those colors and his last name was Colorado. I tend to be kind of a smart guy here, all right? It's basically he's beating Miro pillar to post until they get down to the ring, and then Miro turns the tables. Then they get in the ring, and did you see how sloppy that fireman's breaker was, that he almost dropped Miro completely backwards?
Yeah, I did, and that's why I said this guy. That's why he's a jobber.
Yeah,
he's got the size. He's got a kind of unique look, being as hairy as he is, but Yeah, I don't know if he was just excited or just trying to remember what to do next, but it was sloppy.
I 100% agree. And the thing is, I think it was one of those deals where Miro's like, okay, let's get this over quick. So he wrestled like Rusev, kick, punch, body slam, kick, accolade. That's so it was as forgettable as, we blinked and maybe I wiped my mouth off from eating my sandwich and all of a sudden it was over.
Right. So I had an interesting thought when Miro flexed after the win.
Okay.
I think it was his past current state with Matt and Anthony. They were talking about who's going to be the guy to take the belts off Roman. Who's the guy? When do we even have the guy on the roster now? While I'm watching AEW and I saw Rusev, I'm like, this guy looks believable to beat Roman. That was my thought. This guy looks believable to beat Roman. He looks as fast, as strong. He looks believable. He doesn't have the credentials, but he's got the tenure. So I was starting to think if there was like a fantasy booking world, who could reach at least, besides Cody, who else could at least return, if not to beat Roman, but could at least return to challenge Roman if he keeps the belt for another year, 2 or 3, or who knows how far they're going to go deep down this run. But that was my thought. Like, I know you're not with the Rusev character. I get the punch, kick, slam, body slam formula of wrestling, but before the debacle with feeding him to John Cena, I was on the Rusev train. After that, it was downhill with the loss of Cena. But Miro, the name, the way he's been presented in AEW makes me believe, anyways, that if built the right way, he could at least be a very believable challenger to Roman if he were ever to jump back ship. I think there's some personal issues there why he wouldn't, and I don't know the details of them, but he just looked believable to me. So I guess the question is, can you see what I see, or do you see anybody else who would at least present a challenge to Roman? Just a big name sign from AEW to jump ship.
I think if they didn't screw it up, Powerhouse Hobbs, you just have to build him now. You can't screw him up, but I mean, he was never there before. However, I think he actually was in developmental and they cut him loose. So technically it would be a return, but the momentum he's building, the story that you could have behind him, the terrible youth, everything else, Powerhouse Hobbs, he's got the look. He's about a year and a half. He's ahead of his curve because he's basically learning and cutting his chops every day, and he gets better and better and better. And the guy looks his role. So yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs. And people are going to disagree with me. Look, I can pick a star. I knew the second Ryback came out, he wasn't going to be anything. I knew the second Rusev came out, he was going to be nothing but Cena fodder. I can predict this stuff. I'm really good at it. I don't want to blow my own horn, but toot. So. With that being said, Powerhouse Hobbs, I could see. I mean, if Punk ever went back, he's past his prime, but you can believe it because he's CM Punk. Yeah. John Moxley, if he doesn't bleed all over the ring.
That's the one for me.
And of course MJF, even though because he was there as a security guard once for Samoa Joe. That's basically it at this point.
John Moxley would be of course, the one with the story already built in. Already got the storyline built in. So you hear, that guitar strum from his music as a return, and you know why he's there, right?
Exactly.
But that's just a fantasy stuff. We don't know if we'll ever get that. I believe I think this year he just extended his contract for 3 years, I believe. I have to fact check that, but I think he just re-signed for 3+ years.
Hey, as long as he can get paid to bleed, he's fine. But let's not stray from our topic too much.
All right, yeah, because that happens, right?
Yes.
So, trios title match: Acclaim and Daddy Ass versus House of Black. You know what? You take this one. Let me toss it to you.
First of all, both these teams have a lot of talent, and I basically, hands down, House of Black has way more talent. Okay, people don't know what Brody King can do, but I do because I followed him when he was in Ring of Honor back in 2018. Okay, so I know what he's capable of, and he's actually dialing back what he's capable of. Buddy Matthews, is arguably the most talented person they have on that roster as far as what he can do in the ring. Might not be able to cut a promo, not have a lick of charisma, but that can grow on him if he just works with people. As far as Malachi / Aleister Black / Tommy End, whatever you want to call him from his past or present, he's got everything. He's got a complete total package. In fact, he's another one who could go after Roman if they built him up right. So the beginning of that match, Max Caster had it coming. Was that kick amazing?
Yes,
was that kick amazing?
Was it a kick or a knee? I thought it was a knee.
It could have been either. It was just so amazing. I blinked and I was like, what the hell just happened? That was great. The dominance by House of Black, the match all the way around. Of course, you had Julie Gross Julie Hart on the outside, and doing her thing. I love the presentation of the mask in the beginning, by the way. I don't want to take away from that because you're still building another story, but you had a sub-story in the ring tonight. That's what AEW is doing really well, is that we've got a story with Andrade, but we also have a sub-story of the way the match finished tonight, and that was the best part, is the fact that the chemistry between everything House of Black did was amazing. Of course, the Acclaimed work well as far as being a tag team, but they don't have the chemistry and the years under their belt that all the wrestlers that are in the House of Black do. I mean, Matthews has been in the industry a lot longer than what people think just with his NXT tenure. Of course, I mean, Aleister Black, Malachi Aleister Black was Tommy End for 10 years before he ever signed, and Brody King's been around for at least 7 or 8 years. So these guys gel. They belong together.
They really do.
They are so amazing. And it's like a new version of the Brood, except you don't know who the leader is. We know that Black is supposed to be the leader, but any one of them could take that role. So it's really awesome. The things that got me is I love the fact that Nigel or Ian Riccaboni, who Ian Riccaboni is a great commentator, by the way. He's the old Ring of Honor commentator. He's just as good as JR, just younger. He just doesn't have that Southern flair, that little come get you, but you listen to him and he's fluid. So I love it. You could tell that Billy looked tired in this, and he took the beating on purpose. And the end surprised me when, the Dutch Destroyer takes him down, but then you saw that moment, and I didn't know why they acknowledged it on camera. They said, "What did he say to him?" And I believe that this retirement was the real retirement in the ring. I don't think it's a storyline, or he wouldn't have whispered in his ear like that. The commentators just didn't have to call it out. That was the thing. And then when he took off his boots and left it there in the ring, I was like, we're watching a bit of history. Sure, this isn't, Stone Cold's first title reign or anything, but we're watching history. We're watching a man who's been in the industry for 30 years retire and leave his boots in the middle of the ring.
This is on Mark Henry's fake speech. So his fake retirement speech. Yeah, that touched me. I noticed that. I was like, where's the Acclaim, and why is that he has taken on all the punishment? And then boom, blink, and then the kick, 1, 2, 3, and then when he embraced him, I was like, whispered. I thought the same thing. I was like, are we about to see him? Like, I honestly had the thought, are we about to see him retire? And sure enough, I don't want to say obviously, but we can assume he was thanking him for his time in the ring, and thank you for basically letting me be the last guy to pin you on your way out. But you think we'll get an explanation from him, or you think he'll just go off TV and that's it?
I think that they might do one follow-up interview, and he'll just say, hey, it was time. He realized that he lost a step. He's getting a little bit older. I think it's been, I don't want to say a long time coming, but this way the Gunn boys can be their own entity for a change. There's no more Scissor Me Daddy, so the Acclaim will have to obviously reinvent themselves, but they're good at doing that. So I think that the Acclaimed will be fine without him. In fact, what fun is the Acclaimed finding a new coach or a new manager to, kind of be their mentor, so to speak. So I really like where this went as far as it. I do believe that this is a real retirement. And I know for a fact that I've seen it many a times where, you remember when The Undertaker retired, they had his boots in the ring with his hat. When Kurt Hennig died, Mr. Perfect for all of you, he was wrestling in TNA. They went to a commercial break. They come back, his boots are in the middle of the ring when he passed away. They do that a lot for wrestlers. So this was a very tasteful way to do it, and especially with Black being the one to whisper in his ear. For them to recognize it on air, that makes it even more realistic. I really think this is real. I just wish they wouldn't have acknowledged the whisper. And the last thing I want to say about it is you got to realize that Billy Gunn picked Malachi Black to retire him. That's pretty honorable. That's a lot of honor right there. You should feel really good about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, and that's what the embrace was about. Um, you mentioned about the boots in the ring. We saw this 2 years ago with Triple H at WrestleMania. Had you ever seen a wrestler take off his boots after the match, like Billy did today, and as a sign of their retirement?
I knew he was retiring when he started taking them off.
Right.
Because it made
you ever
sense.
Seen somebody else do that before?
No. I've never seen anybody strip the boots right there in the ring. That's the only thing that got me a little bit speculative of it, but I really think it's legitimate. You don't whisper in someone's ear after you just whipped them, and you've got like this great storyline going, and all of a sudden, you don't whisper thank you to him. And like I said, it's commentary botch to be like, what's he saying to him? So I wish that's the only thing I wish that they wouldn't have recognized. But aside from that, I've never seen anybody do that. So that's pretty cool.
All right. Well, we'll just see how this unfolds. If there's anything left to it. So moving on, FCR comes out. We get the promo. I know these are your guys. How'd you feel about it?
This was not a good promo. They made their point. It was not a good promo. It was very choppy. It was very forced. I think it was just, hey, like, we got to put in our minutes for tonight. And they're not those kind of guys, but I just think that the crowd was against them for some reason. And they just kind of wanted to make their point and get out of there. And it's not their fault. Maybe they're just worn and tired from everything that they've done over the last week, but you could tell that they were in street clothes. They weren't there to wrestle. So let's just cut this promo. Let's get out of the ring. It wasn't like them to cut a promo that bad. Usually they're on fire and they make a lot of good points and they have a little bit of jabs here and there that'll backwash politics and, a little insider stuff that only people like you and I would catch. But in this, it was just, I don't know. I don't want to say stammering through the promo, but it just didn't fit right. Something was off. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, me too. I just felt like they didn't want to be there. They were tired from last week. They probably wanted the night off, and they're like, no, we need you on TV. Somebody probably wrote these lines for them, and they maybe had to memorize them last minute, or they were just going through the motions. I was just, in my head, I was just like, damn, man, give these guys a break. Like, they have a tag title match next week. Keep them off camera. The saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Give them a week off.
Yes. But, this could have been filmed last week before their match in street clothes. Then they have their match, and then it could have just been put up on the big screen.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense while, like going to break, like, okay, we've got this message from FTR in the back, have Shivani or whoever back there talking to them. They would have a lot more life in them, before a grueling match like they had last week. It's like you said, give them a week off, man. The guys are tired. Just let them have some time with their families.
All right. So after that, we get a blood and guts highlights. Did you catch that match?
No, I did not. This dreaded thing called work keeps rearing its ugly head. But I saw those highlights, and I was like, guys, I love stuff like War Games because it was brutal, but I don't need people being body slammed onto a bed of nails, thumbtacks being rained from the that was too much. There's a point where life's needed in wrestling, but when every human being in the match is bleeding, and then the people who are obviously the weaker team wins, I don't see anybody in the elite minus Page being able to fight their way out of a wet paper box. I mean, Kenny's a good performer, but he doesn't exactly scream Mr. Tough. I mean, Moxley bleeds for a living. I believe that Moxley could punch through a pane of glass, slice himself open, and keep going. It's not just persona. Claudio, of course, is one of the strongest guys out there. I don't believe that one of those guys are going to win a fist fight against him, let alone he could stretch him. Daniel Bryan's Daniel Bryan. And a lot of people give Wheeler Yuta a lot of flack for being a nobody, but the guy's proven himself. I'd still take him over any one of the Bucks in a fist fight any day, and yet those guys win. Please. Just the silliness of it. And it's not just who won and lost, but the amount of bloodshed, everybody bleeding, the amount of gimmicks, the amount of weapons, the amount of silliness, that's just too much. If you want blood and guts, like, okay, throw like one or two weapons inside of a steel cage. I can deal with that. Give me War Games. My brother had a really good idea for a match called a prison cell match, where it's a double steel cage, okay? But every 4 feet, there's a window big enough for someone to stick their arm through. So there's at least like one person with a weapon, like you're fighting inside a prison and the prisoners can actually hit you. That's kind of different. I could deal with that because you have to be thrown into the ropes. So you're trying to keep all the action into the center of the ring as much as possible so you don't get whacked. I would take something over that, over this blood and guts, every weapon known to man. Why didn't they just bring out a loaded shotgun? I mean, seriously, that was just too much. That's my thought.
Well, the thing about it is that they're making it an annual thing instead of once in a while thing when it's called for. So it's going to be what we dreaded in WWE with the Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber matches. So yeah, from year to year, they're trying to outblood themselves or outdo themselves, and I did like the thumbtacks raining from the top. I did not like the bed of nails. I thought that was way too much. But they're just going all out for it. So, anyways, the highlight reel there from last week's match moves on into our female match of the night. This one features Sky Blue and Taya Valkyrie. Tyra's off a loss from the Battle of the Belts. She had a title shot against Storm last week, but she failed in her attempt there. Mark had mentioned Mark's so funny. He had mentioned, and he's like, Mr. Morrison, don't come after me, but Tyra Valkyrie's kind of a hotter version of ODB. Wouldn't you think?
It's a rather well-fed Taya Valkyrie. She's a great performer when she's on. Here's what I got out of this match. It was a snoozer before the commercial break, and then when they came back after the commercial break, it's like they both suddenly remembered how to wrestle. They had a couple of what I call soft spots, like they bump into each other and both raise their arm at the same time. It's not necessarily a botch, just like, oh, were you supposed to take a bump? Was I supposed to? And then they take like a soft bump off each other. And it's like, okay, that does us no favors. You just expose the business. And it was just kind of weird like that. Then they go to commercial break. And when they came back, it's almost like commercial. Like the director was like, cut, you guys suck, start over again. And when they came back, it was a great match. Great match.
It started off with bad chemistry and then it finished up kind of strong. Which is a rebound victory for Valkyrie. Not much else, But I guess it was just the storytelling to what happened after, and that was the challenge to my doctor, Britt Baker.
DMD, yes.
Yes, I love that woman there. Yeah, so she challenged her to a match next week. I'm a little lost on the storyline here because I don't get to watch Rampage or Dynamite as much. So I don't know what the backstory is here, but I'm interested to see it.
I mean, I honestly think it'll be a really good match because I think that Britt Baker operates on a much higher level than Sky Blue. And nothing against Sky Blue. I honestly think that she did really well. Like I said, the beginning of the match was terrible, but she really held herself as the person going under tonight. And I think she looked, I don't want to say strong in defeat, but she looked stronger in defeat, meaning that she has potential down the road. It's just going to be a slow build for her. Getting rid of some of those like little green steps, like was it your bump or my bump? Oh, let's have a little weak spot here and there. Give her some time, and I think that she's going to be good. And I think tonight was like a little bit of a test to say, hey, like, should you be on TV or should you be on like a darker platform, or should we ship you off to Ring of Honor for a while and keep you off like network TV until you're ready? So, but it was, like I said, started out as a snoozer, ended up really strong, and I love that slide to the outside, stuck on the ropes powerbomb thing that Taya does. That's a great spot. She does it probably better than any guy does it, to be honest with you. So, Taya looked good tonight. She looked good once they shook off the cobwebs.
Yep, I totally agree. So we'll see what the match next week, if it closes out. I'm sure there's going to be a 2 or 3 part match there. So we might get one of these matches on a Collision in the future. So let's go ahead and move on into the main event. Did I miss anything before the main event? Because
I really don't think so. Just okay. Commercials.
No, because at that time, that's whenever I was we were getting food, and then I was coming back, so I was like watching and then eating and watching, and then I just brought the tablet to the table. Like, I need to finish this so we can record on time this week.
No, you're good. You're good, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were free. Mark had something going on, and Mav was not even going to be able to watch today or tomorrow, so he wasn't able to record it all this week. So just a little bit of magic happened, and us two were available.
No, it's perfect. It's absolutely
All
perfect.
right. So main event time: Starks and Christian versus Punk and Darby. So first question: how long do you think Ricky Starks is going to keep coming out with that belt? How many weeks in a row?
I mean, with the belt, if it's seriously supposed to be like a trophy, I hope the whole year. As dumb as it sounds, but I want him to wear it, not sling it over his shoulder, like come there, take it off, and show it off. Be proud of it, like Owen was his Slammy. Just like show it off. Like I am the first Owen Hart Memorial Champion, and that's like I said, I want it to be an ever evolving belt, look different each year. And it be something not like the King of the Ring, where only the King of the Ring was traded once or twice. It was like from Harley Race to Haku, and I think Haku to Jim Duggan. And then after that, it became like part of or I think maybe Duggan to Macho Man. But after that, it was more of the tournament. But the tournament was underground for a long time. We're not going to get into that. That's not the point. The point is, it's supposed to be something to. It's supposed to be just an all eyes on me. I'm the next guy to. I am the next guy to be elevated. Pay attention to me. I won something very important. And if you look at the people who participated in that tournament, I would be proud to win it, definitely. So I think he should wear it all the time. I think he should always wear it to the ring, show it off, celebrate it, always announce who he is with it. It's also going to get under people's skin to say he.
Well, yeah. So we'll get to that in a second. So second question, real quick: how great is it that Christian's wrestling in a dickie?
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started.
I love it. It's
the Reverend Christian.
Pompous and just I don't know. He wears it really well. But what you have something to say about it real quick?
Did Nigel call it a turtleneck? Isn't he wearing a turtleneck out there in the ring? Something
I think so. I don't know. Like I said, this guy's he's so good. But so back to the previous comment. Starks, yeah, he's supposed to get under your skin, but so to me he's a face, but on camera tonight he was on the heel team. Starks kind of gives me like LA Knight vibes. He's confident, super great on the mic, over with the crowd, but still categorized as a heel. But he's getting cheered like a face. So Starks is a real tweener for me right now, and I thought when he turned on Hobbs, the split from there was his babyface push. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I mean I think we all thought that, especially the work with Jericho.
And that too.
Yeah. So this is. I mean, it wasn't shades of heel until he did the shady things against Punk, and then he's endorsing the fact what he did. You know what I see more in this than I do. I see a little shade of Eddie Guerrero. Yes, I did what I had to do to get the job done. It's not necessarily lie, cheat, and steal because everybody laughed at it because Eddie had a way of making it work. It should have been with Eddie, it should have been a heel, but everybody loved it, and he was a face. And even when they tried to make him heel, still people cheered it. Whereas Starks, it's starting off very deep-rooted as a heel, and they're getting behind him. And the thing is, when they made that when he made that statement earlier about, oh, you should be one of the pillars, it's like, I don't want to be a pillar, I want to be me. And that's like really awesome because you look at like Sammy Guevara and Darby and everybody else who are the so-called pillars. Jungle Boy, I'd take Starks above. The only one that MJF is the only one that realistically is a better performer inside and out. I mean, Darby Allin's a daredevil and he's crazy and he's amazing, but one botched move and he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Not to mention the fact I can't see him as AEW World Champion anytime soon. But Starks, I could see it in a year. And I could also see if something happened to Starks, like a kayfabe injury, kept him off TV for like 2 or 3 months, just give him time to work out, put a little bit more muscle on, which he's not bad looking. I mean, the guy's really chiseled, but he's a little thin. And somebody announced that their mystery opponent, they're going to have a mystery tag team partner against MJF and say Adam Cole. And they say, yes, it's the winner of the first Owen Hart Memorial. The place is going to erupt. He's going to come out instant babyface wearing that title, and just whoever he's tagging with, it's going to take that rocket, put it on his back, and he's going to go straight to the moon and carve out a piece of cheese.
Well, they should do that now or in the next month or two.
I know we should do that now.
Well, do that now, but because hear me out, do that now. have this story with Adam and MJF play out with the tag titles, however they're gonna do that. Keep Stark off camera for a month or however long till the end of the year, assuming that MJF jumps ship. So if you're gonna do that storyline that you just suggested, it would need to be take effect now.
Yes.
So
Thing is, with him just winning the title, though, we can't take him off TV. And we'd have to have a major beatdown, and that major beatdown would have to be at the hands of a couple of baby faces. So you're automatically turning people. So it's one of those where you got to put it on a wheel and see where does the wheel stop. Or you have two heels who have Adam Cole and MJF, just see him flaunting everything backstage, and they beat him down. They beat him ridiculous. And they just say, you're not in our league, kid, something like that. Take him off TV like that. That could work. That's the only way it could work, because the only way you out heel a heel is by taking the devil himself and his best friend and making them do the dirty work of the baby faces, so no one has to risk turning.
Yeah, I get that. Stark's got I like his moveset. I do.
He's got so much potential.
Yeah, I like when he goes on the top rope and does the tightrope rock and he's doing
just like Michael Jackson.
Yes. Yeah. I like that part. I was getting a kick out of that. So during the match, they pan over to Scorpio Sky and Skybox. What do you think? I mean, we know he's coming back, but he's eyeballing everybody. Any ideas what they're going to do with him?
I don't care what they do with him as long as they showcase him. That man is so incredibly talented. And, I didn't even think about that Scorpio was in the Skybox. That's hilarious. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And I liked when they looked at him, all of a sudden he just started doing the shifty eyes like, hey, what's going on here, guys? I noticed you saw me up here. Scorpio Sky, to me, is an incredibly talented, underutilized performer, and I'd like to see a lot more with him. And I really think that they have done a great job of making the TNT title mean something. And so, because it took forever for WWE to reestablish the Intercontinental and US titles. So to me, TNT title has meant something since the beginning, especially when you go back to like Cody and Brody Lee and those chain dog collar matches. I mean, you felt like that's really the second most prestigious title in all of AEW. And that's what I mean, theoretically, it should be the Mid-Atlantic, but we don't even want to talk about that.
No, it's the International Championship now. They renamed it.
That's right. It's so basically, Pockets has that, or I should say, Orange Cassidy. That's just I mean, seriously, he's just no. And so here's the thing. I love the Scorpio Sky sighting. That tells us that he's going to come back probably as a babyface if they keep that title on Christian and Luchasaurus. I also want to say that Darby Allin hit the best, most crisp Canadian destroyer I've ever seen in my life. Did you see how fast he locked that on and it went over?
Yeah, but I guess I'm kind of getting used to Canadian destroyers in AEW. They kind of are starting to blend together for me now.
I know, but just the fact that he made it look believable, like the person didn't have to jump and everything else, like it wasn't assisted. He made it look like he used his own momentum, which was a difference to me. Because I've been seeing it since, what was it, Petey Williams invented it in TNA? Yeah, so. Now here's the thing. Did you notice that after Punk delivered that Randy Savage elbow to Christian, that when Christian Cage started to get up, and especially also at the end of the match on the ramp, that his hair was starting to look like Bill Murray in Kingpin when he's losing it in the bowling match at the end?
No, I did not.
You got to look back at that hair, man. It's going crazy.
What I did notice was that the match, it did have some good flow, but not as much continuity that I would like. It seemed, how do I say, just offbeat there for a second. When Punk gets the hot tag, he starts to unleash some offense, and when you had both the guys in the corner and he does the knee strike, they looked just half done. They didn't look right.
Yes. Yes.
I noticed that, and I don't know if they're trying to be careful or just going through the motions himself, or I'm seeing Punk and I can do no wrong. I don't know. But one of the things that stick out to me, and I was wondering, Darby Allin does a suicide dive outside into Luchasaurus, and he kind of shoulder tackles him.
Yeah.
That should have been a DQ, don't you think?
Yes.
Okay.
I did some of the stuff, like, I mean, it's pro wrestling, and
But
it's one
yeah,
of those
let it
deals.
slide.
Yeah, I hate that. Whoever's in the ring is whoever we let it slide for. Now, as far as Punk and those knee strikes go, I agreed with you on that. I see it as twofold. One, we all know that WWE has the best production, so they know what angle to hit it from, so it looks better and more believable. Two, the guy's is almost as old as me, so he's put on some weight since he first came in, but I mean, he's what, 45? You know, Father Time is going to catch up. Now, maybe if he kept up all those years and didn't take all that extended time off, that he'd look just as crisp as he did in 2013. But I mean, the guy's still, you know, you wrestle for a few months, then you get injured and you're out a few months. It's like, how can you ever completely shake off ring rust?
Yeah, it's
And with time compiling on top of that, you know, and then you throw in some camera guys who, hey, Jay White's going to do a cool move. Let's go to the audience. What? You know, so it's all a factor of three things, I think, in my opinion.
yeah. Punk's he's still got his stamina, but it's
Yeah.
his low loss on his agility, and maybe he's taking a loss on the strength column. But
Yes.
he still has a star factor. He's still gonna put butts in seats, and he's gonna sell merch. So, but one day he will sell merch again for WWE because he's got a return on a WWE contract. Everybody does. He won't be able to pass up the paycheck. I don't think his ego will be able to pass up the ring and just the legacy marker and being in the hall. But another rope grab for the victory with Ricky Starks. What do you think about that?
Loved it. I'm like I said, if I were to pick my pillars when they started out the company, people would say I was crazy if I said Powerhouse Hobbs, but I would have said Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, of course MJF, and then that fourth pillar.
Gotta be
You know,
Jericho. You're talking about young talent.
Young talent like the future.
Okay.
You're going to laugh at me when I say this, but I'm going to shoot on it anyway. Wheeler, Utah, because he does nothing but get better all the time. And he was one of the few people that not only did William Regal and a few others say it, but he listens to veterans. And they would talk about before matches or before they would set up that William Regal would set up in the ring. And, you know, if any young talent wanted to talk to him, they said he was there all the time. It was like him, Starks, not Guevara, the other guy. I can't think of his name.
Garcia.
Yeah, Daniel Garcia. They said they were always there paying attention. This is nothing to take away from Guevara as far as being a pillar, but he's just too immature. He's just way too immature. And then, guys, I see that while they're the long-term future, the mid-term future is going to be your Malachi Black. It's going to be your Andrade. It's going to be hopefully Miro if he wrestles like Miro and not like Rusev. It could be a Christian Cage, or not, excuse me, a Brian Cage if he could just get over his ego and stop working like a madman. So I see a lot of potential in what they have. It's just, okay, here are the tiers. Here's the guys we have right now. This is the mid card that's coming up really fast. And then we have these so-called four pillars that will really be the ones that are the future that we base everything upon. So that's where I see all the people right now, or the way, if I could rewrite history, the way I would have done it.
Good points. Let's get some thoughts on Collision's main event for next Saturday night with our tag team match featuring FTR defending against Adam Cole and MJF. Are we going to get a clean finish? Are we going to get a finish at all? What do you think?
I don't think we are not going to get a finish at all. This one reeks of something fishy in the air, so to speak. Okay, as Scoob and the gang would say, there's something fishy here. I think I need a clue. And I think I found a clue because they're already starting the descent. Can you trust this person? Can you trust that person? Are you guys really friends? Were you guys feuding like a month ago? I see run-ins. I see what I honestly see is like interference maybe by the Bucks or something like that. It also tells you with well, I wouldn't say the Bucks, but I can see somebody, you know, being an X factor in all of this that kind of causes the DQ. Didn't they also say that there's going to be a ladder match next week?
I might have missed that part. Who's featured in it?
I think it's Buddy Matthews and Andrade.
Why not? I knew they were going when I saw that. but I didn't read. I didn't read the caption. Is there a ladder match?
I don't know. Let me research it real quick.
Yeah, research that real quick. So Adam Cole and MJF are the. I mean, I was watching the tag match for the blind tag team eliminator tournament, and just I can't get with the program with these guys. I don't like the way they're buddy all of a sudden. They're pandering to the crowd, and just the way Adam Cole's kind of playing second fiddle to this guy, and I don't know. It kind of seems like they're trying to be babyface, but who's gonna be are we having a babyface versus babyface tag team match next week? I mean, we know FTR is babyface, but these guys coming in as the heels, are they trying to be babyfaces? I don't know. Just something that with these two guys, I can kind of see the chemistry there, but it's not working for me.
I can't find it right now, so I wouldn't quote me on the ladder match. I could have swore they said that, but I don't want to get our listeners all riled up if I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I mean, I am an old man, so I'm not perfect. I might have made a mistake, but I could have swore they said that. Let's see. See if I can find any announcements, because it was funny. They announced halfway through the show what the matches were for next week, and then when they came back from a commercial break, that's when they said, well, we had a special announcement that I guess it's Matthews one-on-one with. Okay, what's up?
It's the ladder match.
Oh, I am so good. And that Brody King is going to be banned from the building or something like that.
And the match is for Andrade's mask.
Mask, yes. So I think that's actually going to be match of the night. And unfortunately, I will not be able to be on next week because I had to do a shift in my work schedule. But aside from that, I know you guys are going to cover it. I'm going to have it DVR'd, so when I get home and pop in my sling, I can watch it and see what happens. Really excited to see what the action's going to be like. If you want to text me in real time, let me know, because we're friends like that. But yeah, all in all tonight, I give it a B- show, only because of sloppy camera angles. I give it a B- just because I just think that things just could have been a little bit more crisp. The mirror match was a very, very much a disappointment. The slight botches here and there were kind of a detractor. The FTR interview was just kind of a letdown, and the indifference of the crowd. Every time you have Punk out there, you're going to have indifference, and obviously with Ricky Starks getting hot and eventually going to become a babyface someday, you're going to have indifference. So those are some I wouldn't say issues, but reasons that you can't get a solid reaction from your people. So B-, potential to be a B+, not an A. And match of the night to me obviously had to be House of Black, just doing their thing. Billy Gunn retiring. That, you know what, we're going to take that B- to a solid B. Just if it's true, then we witnessed history tonight. So that's a solid B right there.
I'm really glad I got to see that live. You can only get so much from a YouTube highlight. So seeing this live, it was really touching. If it's true, and I do believe it is. I agree with you on the letter grade for the show, but that's kind of what Collision seems to what it's going to be. It's going to be, great C+ to a B+ show. You're probably always going to get at least one title match. It seems like Punk and Bullet Club have been featured every week so far on these Collision shows. So we'll see what the future brings. Buddy, we are pushing an hour here. I'm not pushing it. We are past the line. So we went an hour talk for a 2-hour show, but, we can do that because we're in charge.
Hey, we're Wrestle Magic. Can I throw a couple shout outs real quick?
Yes, you read my mind. Please do.
Okay, so living here in Louisville, there's a nice place I like to go to called the Dundee Tavern that has one of the most amazing menus. If you just want to sit down and have an iced tea and an amazing sandwich or any kind of thing that you can eat with a fork, they have it. And so today I met this guy named Kurt who was just sitting there. We struck up a conversation, real nice guy. I told him what I do as far as the podcast goes, and I told him I'd give him a shout out tonight. So he said he'd become a new listener if I did it, which I think is really cool. The second shout out I want to give is to a friend of the mailbag, everybody knows as King Scully. He and I had a conversation earlier tonight on Skype, and it looks like he might be joining the WrestleMagic team here and there for a few episodes coming down the road. We're going to keep that under wraps, but Rocky and I have discussed it. We're going to be doing some stuff with King Scully, and so that's my shout out to you, big guy. And if anybody wants to reach me, it's at 144 Captain on Twitter. I'd love to hear about wrestling. Let's make some wrestle magic. And what about you, Rockstar?
Well, you guys already know Rocky T007 on Twitter. That's my dedicated page for all things wrestling and T-Mobile. So if you have any questions about your cellular service, how to save money, you can reach me there. If you want to be featured on the mailbag, all you gotta, well, not featured, but if you want me to pay for your subscription, give me a follow, send me a message, shout out on the mailbag, and we'll be in contact. I'll pay for that first month of the NXT tier on Patreon. Shout out to you, buddy, just for making it on today. You know how our schedules can be. I'm glad I got to do this 2 weeks in a row. I was on the first 2 weeks. I was off 2 weeks. I went back on, so I'm going to try to keep that train rolling for everybody. Everybody, don't worry. WrestleMagic, we got some stuff cooking. We got a couple irons in the fire. We had to put 2 of our episodes on the back burner just due to life, so we won't get too much into that. Like Michael said, we're working with King Scully to collaborate on a topic covering wrestling in the UK. We don't know what that title is going to be yet, but it's coming. Also in the works, titled, and I quote, "Not everybody can be a top guy." This is brought to you by your nephew, Maverick. He came up with this idea, so me and him are workshopping that. So that episode is coming soon, and I think that does it for me, honestly. So if you have anything else to say, now's the time.
Oh, yeah. To my friend PJ, I'll be talking to you soon. Rocky will be talking to you soon. And to a very special girl out in Arizona named Jennifer, thinking about you, babe.
I'm thinking about you too, Kimmy, even though you're just in the other room. But, you know, that's my lady. That's Mrs. Rocky T. And don't forget, August 1st, Rocky T will be on the Raw review. Raw for the go-home show of SummerSlam is in my hometown, and we got our tickets. I'm taking my son to his first show, so I will be doing the Raw review with Matt the morning after, and it will be posted August 1st. So everybody just keep a lookout for that. And sorry I missed the mailbag next week, but I'll be back on next week and going forward into the future. So with all that said, good talking to you, buddy, as always. We'll be in touch, and we'll keep the magic happening.
Sounds great, bud. See you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
That's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That's WrestleMagic. Now that, my friends, is just incredible.